Okay, welcome. If you're joining us, we're going to give people a couple of moments to get into the session. Welcome to S.O.U.L Fest. I'm Yari. I'll be your host for this Get Crafty session, where we're essentially meeting some amazing people from the film and television industry, and we'll talk about the whole craft side of the business and hopefully expand our knowledge and understanding over the next hour or so. We'll start doing the intros. I don't know how much time we want to give people to kind of get into the session, or whether we just get on with the work. If you are joining the session and you're not on the panel, because we're recording, it's probably useful to put your camera off and your mic on mute. We will have an opportunity for people to ask questions. And if you want to kind of do your question and ask the panel anything directly yourself, then would be a great time to put on your camera and put on your mic. But we have all of our panelists here, and it's probably a good time to kind of get going. So let's work through our panel. And what I'm going to ask you each to do is introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the work you do in the organization that you work for. And we'll start off with Toyin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, my name is Toyin. I am the Member Services and Events Coordinator at Directors UK. Directors UK is a membership organisation and a CMO, collective management organisation. It's essentially like the UK version of the DGA. So we are membership for all screen directors, but we're also a CMO, which means we pay our members, we collect the royalties and we distribute those. And within our membership, we allow, we give our directors enough opportunities to connect, get involved with their peers and just get involved in a lot of activities, screen-wise, PR, legal, and yeah, a whole bunch of other stuff.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'll end it there.
Thanks, Toyin. All right, let's go. Tendai, would you help us introduce yourself and tell us all about your organization?
Hi, my name is Tendai. I work for DB Talent, who are the sister company of Talent Manager. DB Talent is essentially a training and a career development organization. And most of the training that we do is mainly around unscripted work. So, we've got training for like researchers, producers, literally right across the board to production management. And a lot of our training is short courses. Also on the talent manager side, it's one of the biggest platforms for recruiters. Some of the biggest companies within the UK actually use this platform to recruit freelancers right across the UK and even outside.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Tendai. Dionne, can I come to you next? Could you introduce yourself and the organisation you work for, please?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Dionne. I am a development executive at BBC Film, which is the feature filmmaking arm of the BBC. So primarily my role involves supporting the commissioners on projects that they have on the slate. So essentially just working with filmmakers, writers, producers, and directors across films that they're developing and trying to get them into production.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dionne. I was smiling because technically Dionne and I work at the same place. It's really funny asking her that question. Ijeoma, if I may come to you next.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ijeoma. I am the Marketing and External Relations Director for the National Film and Television School. So NFTS is a film school based in Beaconsfield. It's got different locations across the UK. One of the best film schools in the world, apparently. And the school is a postgraduate institution covering MAs, postgraduate diplomas and certificates in anything to do with filmmaking. A lot of great alumni have studied with us, and I've been at the school for about 2 years now, and very passionate about bringing a wide diverse of voices to the school, both teaching as well as studying.
Brilliant, excellent. And then last, but by no means least, Rico, can we come to you next, please?
Oh yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Rico Johnson-Sinclair and I am race equality lead for the BFI. And what that means in practice, I guess, is I'm in charge of changing internal culture within the BFI and adopting a organizational knowledge on anti-racism and anti-racist practice, as well as moving from equality to equity within the organization and then taking that learning externally, so across the industry.
Wow. Well done, Rico. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. And so, you know, we're here to talk about the craft aspect of film and TV. And from my mind, that ultimately breaks down to building the worlds in which our stories take place. You know, that's the way that I would summarize that really quickly. And I think one of the key things here is understanding, you know, there are jobs that are easily visible in film, and I suppose actor being the most easily visible job in film. And there are jobs that we know about, like we know there are directors and we know there are writers. But on that craft side, there are a lot of jobs. We see all those names flying past us at the end of a film, and essentially we're talking about a lot of those roles. And I suppose the first place to kind of start is to kind of understand just how important those roles are in the process, and what are the opportunities for people who want to kind of participate in film or are looking to develop their careers in TV, and what are the opportunities in terms of those craft-based roles. Where do we start out? So if let's start at the beginning. We're looking at entry level. You're going to kind of come onto a film or a TV set for the first time, and you're looking at working on that craft side. What are the roles? What are the opportunities? You know what? I'm going to start with Ijeoma first. And then if anybody wants to jump in and interrupt Ijeoma because she said something like horrendous that we don't believe in, just feel free to do so. Otherwise, I'll come to you.
Oh, I hope I don't say anything too horrendous. When I deliver speeches and presentations to potential students, I always start off by talking about this is an absolutely fantastic time to be working in the film and TV industry in the UK. And I always kind of like say that there are lots and lots, you know, as you've just said, you know, when you look at a film and you see all those credits coming up and you kind of think, okay, what do all of those kinds of things mean? But, you know, this is the best time to be in the industry because the industry is growing, particularly through the pandemic. It's been, you know, the economy has grown as far as the film and TV industry is concerned, and also gaming as well. It's actually gone, you know, gaming is even higher. And then there's been all of these various, you know, streaming. So it's not necessarily about that one way of watching something via going to the cinema. It's all about Netflix and Disney Plus and all of those various streamings that are online now. It's meant that all of the craft jobs, there's been a massive demand for those kinds of content, which means that there is a huge demand for those craft jobs. There's also big plans for the UK as well. So Eastbrook Studios in Dagenham is going to be opening up soon in 2020. Pinewood Studios have just announced major extension of their studios, which, you know, the school is being a part of. We're having a centre that's going to be based there. So it's whenever I talk to potential students, I'm always saying it's such a great time to be in the industry, and that there is a lot of work out there, and that actually, if you were in school or in a college now doing, you know, a computer science degree or you know, doing a BTEC in, you know, in media studies and all of those kinds of things, you know, there is an avenue for you. And it's not just about going into, you know, a school like ours. You can, you know, start as a runner and you know, work your way up and all those kinds of things as well. And actually there's lots of, you know, initiatives like the ones that we're, you know, that I'm sure that my colleagues can talk about. We had the Ghetto Film School at the school yesterday. They've been here for 2 weeks, and their students have started to understand more about what's going on out there. So I think that, to answer your question, it's the best time, I think, to be part of this industry, because it's expanding and it's growing, and there's going to be much more demand. And actually, people who are listening in, if you are, you know, in your early teens or in your early 20s and you're just starting your career, by the time you finish your education and things like that, all of those things that I mentioned, you know, Dagenham, you know, studios and other studios that are coming up will be looking to, you know, to fill their, you know, to have people working for them.
Yeah. So when we talked about a specific role like runner, Toyin, is runner the only role, or are there other entry-level roles if you're starting out going on to film sets and TV production sets? Is it just about runners, or are there other types of roles?
Well, I'm going to put my other hat on, because I used to do some career development work with young and new entrants. So I would say that, yeah, getting the experience on set is always very important, because that helps you develop your interest and where it is you want to focus on. And I think as a runner, you're not really required to do much. So you just use that opportunity to learn and grow and see everything and question everything. So I do support that, that way into the industry. I think it is vital, but I think also use it wisely, use that time wisely to develop your roots and develop your tone. So coming back to the Directors UK angle, to be a director, you could come from anything, as long as you're creative and visually creative, you can interpret something. I wouldn't want anyone to feel that just because they're thinking about the industry now as a director or a producer, it's the only way in. You could be starting as a hairdresser, you could be starting as a builder or anything, and still come in as a director, because you're interpreting a brief, you're interpreting people's opinions, you're coming together, you're collaboratively working. So yeah, I think it's not restrictive, definitely is not restrictive.
So is it a case that in order to do some of those other roles, like you talked about builders and hairdressers, would you have to have started as a runner to do those sorts of roles, to progress to those sorts of roles? I'm trying to get an idea of some of the ways in which you could start off on sets. So runner being one way. What are the other ways that if you're coming in?
I definitely think I think there are a few ways you can come in, and you can come in sideways as well. Like if you're a hairdresser, you might have done the hair of, you know, a director or a producer that's on a film set, and you might be brought in that way. And like me as a filmmaker, I went round a long way. I went into programming and then used programming to get into being a producer, and then used being a producer to get into being a director. So I think as long as you've got like a keen eye on film and you're actually like willing and passionate about creating those worlds, I think there's always a way in. There's always a little hustle that you can do to get away in.
100%. And I think especially once you're on set, like you said, you can see what else there is. You can be a hairdresser and work on a set. You can work into construction and be on a set. You can work in medical field and be on a set, because they still need medics. They still need set designers. They still need props designers, caterers, everything, craft. There's so many ways in, but it's just knowing what it is you want to do. But I for those who are not sure, I suggest the runner route, because you see everything and you get to speak with everyone, and you don't have so much responsibilities on your head of like, oh, I need to quickly rush this lint off John Boyega's back before he's in front of a camera. You don't need to do any of that. Someone else is doing that. So you get the chance to just stand there and see it all come together. And that, I would hope, inspires you to know what route you want to go into, just as a basic foundation.
Dionne, does that hold for the sort of projects that BBC Film make? You know, would those be, you know, are there entry level types of roles on a BBC film, for instance?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just really quickly speaking from my own personal experience, like one of my first experiences in the industry was actually just being an intern on a production. So like supporting the production runner and then having the luxury to be able to just, you know, go to the floor and see get a really big picture view of how everything works and how much goes into it. And then in terms of BBC, I think our short films in particular feel like a really great space for us to be able to step people up, because it's not just about those projects being a showcase for the director or the producer or writer, but equally, you know, we will look at the heads of department that they are wanting to work with and the teams that they themselves are building. And the hope is that you're able to step people up through those shorts so that they'll then be able to move on to feature films as well as TV, because there's so much crossover, particularly now. So I feel like, yeah, everything everyone's been saying, there's a lot of opportunities, particularly now where it's so busy, to be getting on sets and hopefully stepping up really quickly, actually, and just, you know, building your credits, building your network.
Tendai, can I bring you in at this point? Because I think with Talent Manager and DV Talent, and you work so much directly with people who are going onto set and doing jobs, I'd be really interested to understand your perspective on new people coming into the business.
I think, like, just to echo what everyone said, there is a lot, there's different avenues on how you can enter the film and TV industry. I mean, being a runner is actually like probably the first port of call when you're trying to go the official kind of route. But it's not the only way to go in. You can go in as a maybe production secretary, you can go in an admin kind of way, especially if you're looking to go into more of being a producer, maybe a production coordinator or an assistant to somebody that's in a specific kind of role, because all it is really getting you exposure. And, you know, once, like a lot of people said, once you kind of get on set, it's about using the opportunity to learn, first of all, but also using that as a opportunity to understand that you're in an exposed place. So every single thing that you're doing, you know, you never know who's looking. And in that way, it could be a thing, you probably worked with somebody on a set where you were just giving out coffee, but because you're diligent in that role, or there were certain conversations you had, somebody's like, you know, you come to mind for another kind of similar role, and then you keep building and building and building. That's if you go in the official route. But there's also, you know, looking at going into the film industry, you know, as a passion, so creating your own stuff and taking that avenue and kind of running with that, which a lot of people do. And this basically just means using what you've got in front of you. So you pick up your camera. If you want to film, you film. You pick up your camera. If you want to learn to produce, you learn to produce. Take advantage of the sessions like this. Take advantage of any, you know, cheaper training opportunities or whatever it is that is within your budget, and use it and then grow. The more stuff you do, the more stuff you learn, the more stuff you're able to kind of show to say, this is how my career has progressed.
Yeah. Right. So let's talk a little bit about transferring skills from outside of the film business into film and TV. What are your thoughts on being able to do that? Imagine you've kind of started your career off doing something else, and maybe you're thinking about trying to take, you know, you hear about this kind of idea that the film and TV industry needs more people to come in, and, you know, this kind of skills gap, this shortage of people. There's a lot of talk about that. You've heard that talk and you're thinking, right, I want a piece of this film industry, TV industry thing. I've done something else. Where are the opportunities, and what sort of skills are transferable onto film sets and onto television programs. I'm going to come to you on that one, Rico, because you nodded your head like you were agreeing with me. So sorry, bro.
No, it is. Yeah, I definitely think there are opportunities for you to transfer your skills. I think it's very possible. I think in the first instance, like my personal recommendation from my experience would be to go the shadowing route, because as soon as you get into a role and you're on set, you are in that role and it's go, go, go. But if you have an opportunity to shadow, that's always like really beneficial. You can just get the lay of the land, see the people that you're shadowing and see the skills that they have and see if you can bring those skills into a role. And the BFI is great for that. The BFI network is great for that specifically, because if you have a network short that goes through and any director is open or producer is open to having shadowing opportunities, they're really forthcoming with that and will often even allocate budget for access, additional budget for access to accommodate that. So yeah, I would say shadowing was the first thing you should do, and then jump into the role for shorts. Shorts is a great play area for you to get a feel of what a film set is really like.
And is that going to work for someone like me? Do you know what I mean? Say, for instance, I have a desk job at the BBC and I want to be a film producer. But I've got kids to feed. Do you know what I mean? I've got a mortgage to pay. How is it possible for someone in my sort of position, of my advanced years and advanced responsibilities to kind of make that sort of transition? Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 31 years old. I work for the BFI, and I'm a film.
I love when 31-year-old people try to sound like they're old. You know what I mean? I love that. Go on, Rico.
When you think of entry level into film, you're thinking like straight out of uni, graduates going into runner positions. I'm 31 years old. I've had like a long career in the film industry throughout programming, and also now in terms of working for the BFI on developing anti-racist practice in the organisation. But on the side, I'm still doing films. Like I've produced a film in 2019. I've literally just finished directing a film like about a month ago, and I do that in my spare time. It's all about management. It's all about like allocating time, organization. If you've got the will to do it, then you'll find a way to do it.
Right. What about other transferable skills? Like Ijeoma, do you know what I mean? Say, are there opportunities for people who aren't maybe necessarily coming straight out of their GCSEs or their A levels and are looking maybe at an organization like the Nfts? Where might people who have already started their careers in other areas maybe access through something like your organization?
It's interesting because what we're talking about is if you're in a career at the moment and you want to go into the film and TV industry, do you want to do the thing that you're doing now in the film and TV industry, if you see what I mean? So at the NTS, we run a number of courses. So I'm thinking something like production accounting, which is one of our diplomas. The majority of people that are on that course are people who have studied accounting or who have had that kind of start in the accounting world. They want to be an accountant, but they don't particularly want to be an accountant in the outside world. They want to be an accountant in the film and TV industry. And so the way that they do that is that they do a course like the production accounting course, where we have lots and lots of different mentors and organizations that we work with. They get lots of work experience while they're doing that course, and then they flourish in there. So I'm also thinking of some things like an assisting directing or production management. If you wanted to go into that, a lot of the heads of departments that look after that in our school very much want to hear from people who work in retail or people who work as a secretary or a virtual PA assistant, because they know that those kinds of organizational skills and also those kinds of verbal skills, i.e., that customer service, will actually help them in the film and TV industry if they're looking to become a production manager or an assistant director. And in that case, then again, doing the course, that's another diploma course that we do, as Rico said, getting that experience on shorts and working on shorts you know, at the film school, they're working on a number of different projects, from, you know, fiction, it could be science and natural history, it could be a documentary, and they're doing all of those work, and then also gaining that experience. So do you see what I mean? So I think that as I come back to what I said before, looking at all of those credits when they come up and you sort of see all these roles, marketing as well, you know, finance, all those kinds of things, it's not necessarily that you're throwing all of that knowledge that you've learnt away. You're actually using that in the industry itself, and you want to be part of that industry. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Let's talk a little bit about this idea of, I imagine, so you've managed to kind of, you've done a little bit of shadowing, maybe, you know what I mean, you've got yourself a job as a runner, maybe you've done a few jobs and you're, so, you know, it's this whole idea of kind of moving up within the industry and the opportunities and the ways of thinking about starting to, you know, you've kind of spent a bit of time on set, you know that this is for you. How do you start, like, in different types of roles and different aspects of what we do on set? How do you start to plot your kind of ascent up the rungs of the ladder? Do you see what I mean? So maybe if we start with you, Tendai, how are people kind of progressing once they've gotten on set and gotten over that initial hurdle? How are people kind of able to, what are the ways in which people are able to move their careers on, get more money, get more responsibility, get, do you know what I mean? Better trainers, that sort of stuff.
I think the first thing is obviously stewarding that opportunity well. You know, the better you do in any position, the more kind of recognition you get from anybody on set. A lot of times I find that people, when they do get jobs, it's off recommendations, because somebody has said, oh, this person worked really well with me, and, you know, I feel they'll be good for this and that, especially within the industry. It's really about, you know, building your network as well. But also, I think improving on your skill and upskilling, basically. So if you are a producer, you know, do what it takes to become better at that role. If you're directing, direct more things and become better at that role. That basically helps you to be in a better place when you're now presenting your work or what you're capable of doing to the different people that would employ you, to say, okay, I'm able to do this. And I think, as someone mentioned before, at this time, opportunities are galore. There's so many opportunities out there. And it's just about kind of getting that opportunity. A lot of times as well, people tend to think they don't have enough experience or they don't have enough going for them in terms of, you know, what they've done or what a specific kind of role they're trying to go for. But sometimes it's not the case. A lot of times it's not the case, actually. They're more capable than they think they are. So I think also just kind of going there confidently for whatever role, knowing what you've done and what you're capable of doing, and going with that confidence to say, I can actually do this. Don't kind of look down on yourself or set yourself back. A lot of times you know, like a lot of industry places, they'll say, oh, you need training for this, and that, and the other. Sometimes it's not the case. I'm just putting it out there. Sometimes it's not the case. You're more than capable of doing the job. But when you get the opportunity, make sure that you do well with the opportunity, because that opens other doors to more opportunities.
What about for Dionne? What about for you in terms of people, advice for people trying to move their careers on a little?
I think it's a combination of research. It's like it's literally understanding, okay, what are the steps I might need to take, and sometimes that looks different for everyone. But in terms of that plotting, you know, I don't know if you're a casting assistant, for example, or even outside of casting and wanting to get into it, it's figuring out, who do I need to know, or is there training I need to do, or is it more about osmosis and learning on the job, and figuring out how you can get into that space.
Yeah.
And also identifying, I think, you know, the more you do something, the more you'll be able to identify what you really thrive in. Because I think most of us, we don't love every single aspect of our job, or we're not brilliant at every aspect, but it's like being able to identify what you really are good at. So there might be casting directors who really like casting non-professional actors, and that can be your specialism, and that's how you kind of sell your USP. So it's also being able to understand what you can bring to a production or the people that you're working with. So I think in terms of upskilling as well, I think it's a combination of, it's identifying the skill set that you're going to be able to bring to something.
Brilliant. And when we talk, like, obviously one of, like, you know, we know that one of the kind of most visible jobs in film and TV is directing. You know, we can all name directors like Amara Asante or Steve McQueen. So Toyin, you know, for an organization that works particularly with directors, how are people progressing from your experience into those types of roles on set?
Just to quickly follow with the point before, it was just to say, for those that want to progress career-wise and you know which route you want to go, I think there are some resources on Screen Skills that kind of plot out the various career pathways. So it's like, if you want to be a producer, perhaps you start with production assistant, and then a secretary, coordinator, line producer, and then it kind of goes up. So you sort of, because one of the things that I always noticed in my other careers is that the people I speak to don't always know how to get to their end route, and it is difficult if you don't see it. So just like you were saying, Yore, people know directors because they're more visible, and you don't always know the pathways of anything else because it's not visible. So I think Screen Skills has a resource there. And then linking back to like BAFTA Guru, the BFI, their education videos and events, it's listening to other people's experiences of how they got to where they're going. Because they're like, I think Rico, you mentioned, there's no one way, or we've already mentioned, there's no one way. Everyone's path is very unique, but hearing other people explain how they did it kind of gives you a bit of sense of, oh, it wasn't as, I need to go to this school, then I need to meet this person, and then I need to go here, because that's not how it always works. So back to your question, Yore.
Thanks.
So with our members, we have different memberships. We have associate membership and full member. Our associate members come with the shorts experience, the commercial, having a film screened at a curated festival. And sometimes they do want to move into features, and it is about opportunities. We try and get them in the right spaces with other people who they can hear how they moved up. It's quite difficult to explain because it's, you've made something and you want to move into a different area of directing. Like I said, there's no one way, but being around peers and hearing other people's experiences and networking is very helpful, because it helps you get into those spaces, understand how you want to develop ideas, understand what would work, what wouldn't work. And unfortunately, and this was just from one of the directors I spoke with earlier, is that directors don't really get work experience. You learn whilst making. You can't become a work experience director on a set. You can shadow sometimes if you're given the opportunity, as Rico mentioned, but majority of people learn by trying and then understanding the mistakes or what wouldn't work next time. So it is a very unique pathway. So as Tendai said, make stuff. Be creative, be out there. Like, it is so easy these days to make a film. I used to work at Interfilm, which is a film education charity, and the young people would get to make a film just with a phone. They made an entire film about a pencil. It was called the Magic Pencil. It was adorable, but it was using their imaginations and then translating that from idea to visual content. So make something. That is your calling card, you know, and collaborate. You then are with your peers. It doesn't have to be, oh, I need to meet Spielberg or McQueen or Jenkins in order to become a director. You've got those people around you already. Utilize your networks.
That's great news. I think the other thing that I would add to that is that you got to kind of nerd out on the thing that you're interested in. If you want to get into casting, you know what I mean, and you can remember actors' names, that's that who was that actor in that thing that did that thing. If you know their name and you're talking to people, that is incredibly useful if you can just reel off what actor did what, particularly when you start to go beyond lead actors, or if you're you want to work as, in the camera department, and you kind of actually really nerd out for those details, and you can really talk to people about what they do and what they've done and you know about their work. I think that can be a real way of helping you kind of bridge those gaps and talk to people a little bit. What I'd love to move on to at this point is, each of you represents a different organization who do all sorts of incredible work helping people develop careers in our business. And with our mind set on these particular sort of craft roles, I'd love for each of you to kind of explain some of the ways that people can interact with your organizations to help move their careers on in that area. And I'm going to start with Tendai, if I may, and we'll work around and just what are the ways in which DV Talent and Talent Manager can support people if they want to interact with you and move their careers up?
So I'll start with the first thing that pops to my mind. At the moment, we are running a mentoring program. It's called Crossroads. So it's basically targeted at people within the industry that have some sort of experience, occupying some sort of role that would like to, that feel that they're at a crossroad and would like to kind of take the next step in their careers and progress forward. We're on our second round of it. The first round kind of finished in June, and we've actually got one more week before applications close, so to get on that. But the idea of this is that you as a mentee, you choose somebody, or you think about somebody in the industry who's inspired you, who's walked a similar route to where you want to go. So regardless of where you're at. So if you're maybe at, production assistant level and you want to progress on to production coordinator, and you've probably seen someone in the industry who's done really well, we ask that you nominate that person to be your mentor. Don't come nominating people like Alexander McQueen and Steve McQueen, sorry, and Amma and, Ken Loach and the likes of, the big guys, because the likelihood is they cannot mentor you. But when you pick someone that is literally a few steps ahead, I always use this analogy, it's like you're going up a set of stairs. The person that's a few steps ahead can actually grab your hand and pull you up. The person that's all the way up there, they can see you, but maybe might not be able to help you, at where you're at the time, probably because they've also got a lot of stuff going on. It's not to say that they cannot do it. But it's just also you learn to work with peers that are closer to the gap and who've had their experiences closer to where you're at as well. So we've had a few good applications with that. A lot of our training as well, we do the training side, a lot of our training is really kind of targeted at unscripted. So if you're in that area, do look on our website, which is wedeveloptalent.co.uk. And we've got short course training for, again, it's upskilling. So specific cameras that you need to know how to use when you're on set, FS7, we got the Mini, just, whatever you need to learn, there's probably a course that's there that is relatable. We have industry professionals that do teach it. So it's people that have used the cameras, the people that have been in these positions, people that have been that are production managers, or that have been production managers that are teaching the courses. So you're not getting taught by somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. Now on the Talent Manager site, Talent Manager is a platform for recruiters, but it's also like a network. So imagine it like the LinkedIn, but for you know, film and TV industry. We've got a lot of the major companies within the UK, BBC, ITV, a lot of like over 5,000 production companies that do recruit through there. So if you don't have a profile, I would encourage you to get yourself on Talent Manager. There's always jobs coming up. Like I said, right now, there's a high demand of, you know, people that are skilled, people that are in the industry, and everyone's really open. So definitely get on there, apply. And I guess network. There's also a networking platform called The Hub on there. So you can network with other professionals, introduce yourself to other people. There's various events that they run throughout the year as well, weekly talks and all that kind of stuff. So there's a wide range of things that you can get from DB Talent and Talent Manager. That's
great.
good.
I mean, that's a lot to go through there. I wanted to maybe ask a similar question of Dionne, and I know, like, you know, let's to try and be a little bit more kindly in this area. Can I get you to maybe think about what's going on in terms of BBC Film rather than the entirety of the BBC, because it feels cruel and unusual to do anything bigger than that. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of BBC Film and the things that you've got going on over there that might help people out.
Yeah, so I mean, day to day, I primarily interface with writers, directors, and producers, and we don't accept unsolicited projects. So things will come to us through a producer or an agent, but we are as a team. So on the editorial side, there's 6 of us, and we're very proactive about finding and meeting talent ourselves, whether that's through, you know, might watch someone's short film online or at a festival and then get in touch with them. And then people also, there's our kind of BBC Films email address on our website that people can get in touch with us through, and that's monitored. And then also, like, with every now and then I do have craft people contact us because they just want to be on our radar. And I think it's just about sending your work. So, you know, if you're an editor, trying to build your network a bit and get yourself out there. It's just about showing people your work and what you might be interested in and what you think your next steps are. I think for anyone who's getting in touch who have not met before, it's always just understanding the context of what kind of conversation they want to have. Sorry, my laptop just said internet unstable, so I don't know if I was breaking up at all.
No, we can still hear you. I think you might have frozen a little bit, but we can still hear you, Dee.
Okay.
Brilliant. What about, let's talk a little bit to Rico about the support that's available via the BFI.
Sure, I would definitely go the network route, and I think so. The BFI, in case you didn't know, is split up into hubs. So depending on where you are, you'd have a local hub. The BFI Film Hub for London is Film London. The BFI Film Hub for Midlands is Broadway Cinema and Flatpack Film Festival. And every hub will have a talent exec. So even at craft level, if you shoot the talent exec an email to say, hey, I'm new, like I'm looking for shadowing opportunities or I'm looking for actual opportunities on set, then they'll be able to guide you in the direction of productions that are happening in your local area at the moment and maybe tie you in with some people that are working at like above the line level within those productions to have conversations about getting you on set. So I think that's probably the best way to work in. I would also say, like, attend festivals. It sounds really strange, but like the best way to make networks with people that are working on films is to go to festivals. Just get out.
Festivals like S.O.U.L Fest, perhaps.
Perhaps, yeah. Just get out there, start networking. And so those are my really the 2 ways that I think you can get into the industry and make a mark.
Okay. Can we come like Toyin before we, because I want to get to you and Ijeoma about this this idea of what's available from your organisations. So Toyin, let's come to you, and then we'll go to Ijeoma about what you know, what can I access via Directors UK? What you got for me, mate?
So as I said at the start, it's a membership organisation, so you do need to be a member to get involved in Directors UK. So the 2 different memberships, the full member, which are more for theatrical, you need to have a theatrical released feature credit, but then you can also join as an associate member. So the associate member have if you have 2 credits in publicly screened or commercially used audiovisual content, so that's shorts, that's films in curated festivals like S.O.U.L Fest, advertising, promos, branded content, music videos, VR, video games, any of those, we've got 2 credits of those, and then just get in touch and then you can become a member. When you are a member, you have access to, like I said, the network of over 7,500 members across the UK. And that's also including legal support for any of the contracts that you might be coming up when you decide to partner with Netflix or partner with, you know, whoever, any of the broadcasters. You also gain some career development opportunities. So they are constantly working with broadcasters to see ways that they can, you know, as we mentioned before, how to continue to move up is to go into those spaces and meet other directors who are working either on features or TV dramas. And then the most glitzy is, you know, having opportunity to exclusive conversations between directors that we also have on podcasts, which are free for everyone, but the online or in-person events are kind of like the glitzy bits that I get to work on, which I'm happy about. But I would echo what everyone else is saying, which is connecting with your peers, because it is very important to have a network around you to help you creatively kind of going through the beast of your mind of, oh, I want to make this, but I'm not quite sure how to get there. And I think that's what's really, really important in Directors UK, because we have a find a director search bar on the website. I don't know if you need to be a member to use it. I don't think so, but you can find someone who might have worked on something that you're interested in, connect with them, email them, say, oh, you made this film, I'm interested in doing a similar project. Do you mind if I just ask you a few questions? We're all about community and kind of moving up. One of the other things I do want to mention in terms of, like, not the legal side, but campaigns that we work on to help the rights of all directors. So it's not just a member that gets help. We're trying to improve the world of directing for everyone and making sure that everyone's treated the same, equally and fairly. So if you are looking to be a director, just know that we are still working on your behalf, even though you're not a member yet.
Okay, that's cool to know. John, let's talk a little bit about what's on offer from the Nfts, because obviously you mentioned it was postgraduate. Sounds expensive, man.
So yes, the NFTS is, as I say, a postgraduate institution. So we do MAs and postgraduate diplomas and certificates. We also do a lot of short courses, bite-sized courses. So you can do, if you're in the industry and you want to, you know, learn the latest, you know, technology about something, we do run quite a lot of bite-sized courses. But you've picked up on, you know, definitely something that I definitely want to talk about, which is that, yes, it can be quite expensive. And we really don't want that, you know, fees to deter students from applying. So we have over £900,000 worth of bursaries and scholarships that we give out to students every year. And, you know, and we do encourage people to apply, and, you know, a lot of them do get really good scholarships and things from us. The BBC, I'm sure, no, we've got a really great we've just started a 3-year partnership with them. Part of that is that they are sponsoring around 20 students of ours from a range of different disciplines. So again, production management, as well as directing fiction, directing TV, and I think directing science and natural history as well. And they get scholarships, and not only do they get scholarships, to contribute to the payment of the fee, but they also get mentors from the BBC from those specific disciplines as well. And we as a school try to ensure that we get great deals like that from the industry that we pass on to our students. So whereas in the past, yes, it has been very much, if you can afford it, you can come. I think that that we are really working very hard to ensure that we get students from all backgrounds coming in, and that's certainly the case now, which I'm really proud of.
One of the big things that's happened in, I suppose, in craft in recent times is that obviously there was a big kind of Oscar win from for the Ma Rainey film in terms of like a craft Oscar, and obviously there have been sort of right across the industry. Let's not pretend that there aren't sort of diversity and access issues. So, I mean, I'd love to kind of get you guys' thoughts on what the significance of that Oscar win and what are the kind of what you think the issues are around diversity and inclusion and how we challenge some of those. Go on, Rico, jump in, mate.
I think what you said is actually quite apt, because what I perceive from looking at the industry is that it takes someone to break a seal. So once you've broken a seal, then everyone else floods out afterwards. And I think that was really the case for like, I use Black queer film as an example. So Moonlight, when Moonlight came out, it kind of paved the way for other Black queer stories to be made. And I think the industry really moves like that. So I think it was really significant. And I think what we'll see now is more attention being paid to craft roles on sets, because they should be awarded the same accolades as the rest of the crew. Because when imagining worlds, what's more important than the people that create those worlds?
Yeah, Dionne. So, as someone who works predominantly in, specifically in film, what were, obviously what happens at the Oscars, guys must affect you guys. What was your kind of take on that?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm completely honest, I don't, because it's like over there in the US, I'm not sure what the ripple effect is to us here, but I think it is really important to see those accolades being given. And I feel like I'll just end up repeating Rico because you said it so well. But I feel like there is a bigger emphasis actually and appreciation of those roles, because they're just as significant as the ones that we've all been talking about in terms of having the visibility. Because you don't get films or TV made without people in the costume department or in on production design and locations, and all of it comes together to create a particular vision. So I think that's the significance, and I guess it's, again, going back to it being so busy right now, I hope that people see the possibility of a career in this field for them if they are interested in moving into it, and that there is such a richness and breadth in terms of what's out there. Beyond everything that we see when we, I think going back to like Ijeoma said before, like actually like reading the credits is really interesting to know how many people have to be involved in something for it to get made.
Do you think there are opportunities culturally? We're sitting here with a group of Black people talking at a Black film festival, so I think it's reasonable for me to ask, are there opportunities specifically for us? Are there ways in which we specifically can kind of do things? So I think of things like, for instance, as as we start to see more Black actors getting on screen, are there going to be more spaces for people who understand how to light a range of skin tones? Or are we going to find that there are more opportunities for people who understand the difference between different kind of textures of hair and how to work with those, and how to kind of deal with different kind of types of makeup and things like that? Are there specific ways in which we can bring our cultural knowledge to bear on craft roles is, I guess, the question.
I would say definitely. I certainly think that once more content is being made, commissioned, funded from diverse experiences, from ethnically diverse experiences, then because we, as the Black community, have endured what we've endured, we have a good idea of what equity means for our community. So we will bring other people up, like generally anyway. But I also think that there's something really important about having people that understand the experience of what you're actually trying to create. So in terms of craft, like having Black people work on something that resonates with their personal experience will always give a more rich and complex representation of what you're trying to convey. So I definitely think there is space for like ethnically diverse perspectives in craft, and there are ways that we can let each other in.
Great. Does anybody else want to kind of make a point around that before we open up the floor to questions? Okay.
All I'd say is just that, you know, those HOD roles and the producer, they're all really important in creating the culture of a set. And so as a result in bringing those people through, as Rico was saying. And yeah, I do think once you start to diversify the storytellers, then that will trickle down. But I do think there needs to be more structured support as well. It can't just be a more anecdotal thing, which I think it feels like it's currently in that space where you do hear those stories of, I don't know, you have a Michaela Cole who's able to kind of has a platform and speak about those experiences and what it's like to not have someone who understands your hair type. But I think for proper change, so it can't just be someone who has the confidence and the courage to be able to say that. You know, I think it needs to become part and parcel of how we work.
Great. Right, well, we don't have huge amounts of time left, but we do have the opportunity to kind of take any questions if there are any. I won't take it personally. I feel like I've kind of been very comprehensive and thorough in the way I've gone about questioning everybody today. And so I won't take it personally if you are still having a question that you won't have answered, but equally, if you don't, that's okay as well. But if anybody has a question that they would love to ask now, then please either, you can either drop it in the chat quickly, or you can turn your camera on and unmute your mic and ask a question. All right. I think, hold on. Okay, hold on. Here's a question in the chat. What do you do if you find the set is too cliquey? So, there are a bunch of established people. You finally get your chance to get on set with some people. They already know each other, and you're the new person coming in. What do you do? What do you do, Tendai?
I think you do your job.
Boom. Do you know what I mean? But drop your mic right there. Pow. Then they did it. Do you know what I mean?
I think
wow.
When you got to sets, sometimes people would have built relationships and all that kind of stuff, and some people might not be welcome to knowing you, but you're there to do your job. So go do your job and then see where that goes. You can obviously, be friendly, make friends and all that kind of stuff, and grow your network if you can. But most importantly, you do your job. Don't back out because people are being cliquey, because when opportunities come, just, learn to separate certain matters. This is what I do personally, learn to separate certain matters. You're there to do a job. These people are doing a certain, moving mad or behaving a certain kind of way. You do what you need to do, leave them do what they're doing, and then you move on to the next thing, onto the next opportunity. But don't let that stop you, because sometimes I think people get stuck in that place where they focus too much on the wrong thing and it distracts them from what they should be doing.
Okay, all right, here's another question, right? Which is better, going to film school or practical experience, right? Fight.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna say going to a film school. And the reason why I say that is because from the students that I've met and alumni that I've talked to, is that it is a faster route to where you want to be. I'm not at all sort of saying you shouldn't go ahead and, go to become a runner, or all those things that we've talked about. That is definitely a way that you can do it. But there is another alternative, and that is, going to a film school who have got those connections already, and so help you along, and so you get work experience quicker. You get various, we have people coming and doing master classes, and and you can do various things like that. So I think it's I mean, I would say this, wouldn't I, because I'm a marketing director. So it is a faster route, I believe, but it's not for everybody. And there are other ways that you can do it.
I think it definitely depends on where you are. Like, if you are, just leaving like college and you're thinking about a career in film, then I would definitely go the route of like going through film school and making those networks and being immersed in filmmaking every day for 3 or 4 years. But if you're, working as an event producer in a festival, then those transferable skills could take you to producer in no time. So you don't need to go through the film school route to get on set. So it really just depends on the level that you're currently at.
Okay, so it sounds like pay attention to where you are in the industry, pay attention to your circumstances, and act accordingly. There's no sort of one size fits all rule, is what we would say. All right, so look, this has been an amazing kind of a conversation. Really appreciated the time that you kind of given up to be here, and I can't thank you enough for being part of this year's S.O.U.L Fest. I think we're pretty much done for time for now, unless some sort of clever producer person wants to tell me otherwise, but I think we're like bang on time for kind of wrapping up this session. So, to kind of wrap up, I'd just love to kind of extend our thanks to Tendai, to Ijeoma, to Dionne, to Toyin, and of course to Rico. And listen, thanks so much for being part of this year's S.O.U.L Fest, and I hope you'll come back again and do this. But it's just been a really amazing moment for me to kind of be able to do one of these sessions and see all of your wonderful faces and know about the work that you're doing, and seeing how much we've kind of, just in 3 years at the festival, how much things have kind of moved on. Do you know what I mean? Rico at the BFI, do you know what I mean? Nfts has now got Ijeoma, do you know what I mean? These are things that weren't there, do you know what I mean? Even Directors UK, Toyin's not necessarily been there a long time. So these are things that have happened since the festival started, and it really feels like things are changing. And so it just makes me happy to see all of you and be able to do this particular session at all. So do you know what I mean? Now I'm gonna go and have go and lie under a weighted blanket and let my emotions calm back down again. Do you know what I mean? But listen, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.